Hello! You're listening to the Oklahoma Onstage podcast, the online source for all things theater in Oklahoma. We're glad you've joined us. We would love to hear your feedback, so drop us an email at oklahomaonstage@gmail.com or use the comment form on our website, which is oklahomaonstage.org. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe. Oh, and leave us a rating and review. It would really help us out. Now, sit back and relax. Another great episode starts right now.
Welcome back, everybody, to Oklahoma On Stage. As always, I'm Tim. I'm your host. And today we have a guest that is a Tulsa native whose career has taken him from Shakespearean battlefields to international tours, from voice acting in live-action graphic novels to featured performances at American Shakespeare Center's Blackfriars Conference. He's played everything from Hal and Henry IV to Wadsworth and Clue, trained with some of the most respected Shakespeare scholars in the world, and built an award-winning filmmaking career along the way. And now, he's the founder and artistic director of Tulsa Shakespeare Company, a new repertory theater with a bold mission to make Shakespeare accessible, educational, and culturally essential for Tulsa. Their first events sold out, their workshops drew experts and novices alike, and their pop-up performance at Philbrook pulled in more than 400 people. Oklahoma Onstage family, please join me in welcoming Brock England to the podcast.
It sounds so fancy when you describe it at such length. Like I've never heard my life presented in such a really good radio format. Thanks. And that was really nice.
That's kind of the slipcover version, so we could always go a little deeper. So as we always do, we start out, kind of the elephant in the room, if you will. Just how did you get started in theater?
That's a great question. As you said, I'm a Tulsa native. I grew up here in Tulsa and lived here till I was 10. And even during that time, my entire family was active doing it. I did my first show here in Tulsa at Theater Tulsa, the Williams Theater, in the Tulsa Performing Arts Center, the now American Theater Company classic Christmas Carol. I did twice as Tiny Tim both times. That was it. That was a high point, and I was 7 or 8 years old. And after that, it just kind of kept going. My whole family was involved. My mother did it. She was on stage or stage managing. My dad was on stage or designing sets or working backstage. My sisters were all either on stage or backstage doing something. We started doing community theater as a family. It's what we did together. I had distinct memories of singing vocal warm-ups in the car on the way to rehearsal when we were kids. And it just kind of stuck. My sisters are all, 3 of them are all geniuses. They are all extremely bright women. And they are all doing big, important things. My oldest sister is the head of design ethics at IKEA. She is living in Sweden. My twin sister's job title is chief of staff. It goes on and on. I am the one that just kind of stayed the kid. I got a full scholarship. I got a full ride to one of the top 5 engineering schools in the country. I won't say which one. And I lasted 3 semesters before I realized I didn't want to be an engineer anymore. My grades were okay, and I could have kept it up, but the first 3 semesters there, I found the nearest theater and did 4 shows while I tried to get through this rigorous engineering program, and I realized I was just not in the right place. And then it just kind of, something really weird happened after that. Something fell right in my lap that really gave me an experience of what it could be like to be a professional theater maker. After I left school in Colorado, I had a crap job, and I still had friends in the area, and I had a Denny's that we hung out at in West Denver. And I was sitting there late one Tuesday night. It was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I think. And a couple of young women walked in, and they sat down and started talking to some of my friends that were a few tables away. And I overheard them talk about being on tour with something. And I said, that sounds like it's right up my alley. And I went over and introduced myself. And I said, on tour with what? And they said, Cirque du Soleil. And I said, wow, that's unusual. Tell me everything. And they did. They reeled me for a good 2 hours. And I asked at the end of that conversation, how did you do this, of course? And they said, just pack up everything you own and come to California. And about 2 weeks later, I did. I just packed everything I owned into my 69 Chevelle, and I drove from Denver with a stop at my parents' place to get their blessing, and drove to Los Angeles, met up with this show, which was in the area at that time, and toured with them for almost a year. I started out like most tour folk, most tour rats do. I just followed them around, and I got a job as an usher on the spot. And within a few weeks, I had met some of the backstage crew of this magnificent show and showed them that I had some experience doing backstage work, and they hired me onto the lighting crew. And from then on, I was doing some incredible work. The show was called Cheval Théâtre. It was an equestrian circus. It was an experimental show put together by the people who made Cirque du Soleil. And single ring equestrian circus with magnificent costumes and a $2 million lighting system. And the tent was the largest hand-painted, waterproof, fireproof, movable structure in the world at that time. It was suspended on 4 64-foot masts, and on those masts were concentric rings that were suspended around the mast, and on those rings hung the lighting instruments. So I had to put on climbing gear every day and go work on lighting instruments and just climb up and down the masts and move lights around. And I was working with people from all over the world. Québécois, of course, that's where Cirque du Soleil is from Montreal. But people from France, China, Russia, Argentina, all over the world doing this wonderful, wonderful art. And worked my butt off and realized that people actually do this. People actually make a living doing this. They do nothing but theater all day. And I always told myself I couldn't do that. There's no way I can do that because there's no work in it. I would never make any money. I would never be comfortable. I would never be happy, which was all an absolute lie. It was an absolute crock. I should have done it. I should have stopped right then and said, look, I just need to go hard on this. But never really gave myself that option. It was always just something that I liked. And then I saw what could be done with that show, with the Cirque. And from then on, it's just been trying to reach that level again, trying to get back to the quality of art that I was making at that time, and try to be a pro at it as much as I'm able. And that took me many places. I ended up after Colorado going to Austin for 16 years. I had family in that area. My sister was in that area at that time making film, and that's when I started doing Shakespeare. I did my first Shakespeare in 2004 in Austin. It was Love's Labor's Lost, with a wonderful little company called the Bedlam Faction. And from then on, I did a lot of theater in that time, but I always gravitated back towards Shakespeare because it was such a challenge. It's hard. It's not just taking lines. It's not just reading, trying to bring life to lines on a page. It's trying to understand what's being said and how to literally decode that text and figure out what Shakespeare intended when he wrote it. It's a lot more of a challenge than just breathing life into a character. You have to understand and analyze the text a lot more heavily than you do with modern plays. And I loved that. I don't know why. I loved that homework. I love Pentowner. I love the way it sounds. I love the way it feels. And I love what it does for story. Shakespeare just kind of grabbed me after that. And since then, I worked with several companies in Austin, landed with one called Hidden Room Theater. Started working with them in about 2007, 2008, and continued with them on and on under the direction of a lady named Beth Burns. Beth had a penchant for finding theatrical oddities, Shakespearean and classical theatrical oddities, and resurrecting them. A great example is we found Richard III, but done by John Wilkes Booth. John Wilkes Booth was a very famous actor in his day. His entire family was, and actually he was a member of the first great American acting dynasty, the Booths. His father, Junius Booth, was, I hope I'm remembering that correctly, was a superstar in his day. His brother was also very famous. John Wilkes was somewhat famous, but not quite as famous. As such, he got the Southern touring routes, which is where he was radicalized, and he turned against Lincoln. But during that time, he was very famous. He was famous enough that he followed what they called the Star program. He had his own version of Richard III, which has bits and pieces from both sides in the history surrounding plays. Henry VI is in there, and Richard II is in there. It's like the greatest hits of Richard III. It's a wonderful version of the play. It's less than 90 minutes long. It's tight. It's fun. There's lots of battles. It's really great. And he had his prompt book in which this play was written. He would send that prompt book to 2 weeks ahead of his schedule. Wherever he was going next, he would send his prompt book. The producers in the next spot would get his prompt book. They would hire locals to fill in the roles around him. Then he would show up about a day or two before they opened, do his bit, get everything together, and then he'd run it and send the prompt book on to the next spot. That prompt book is extant. It is kept at the Harry Ransom Center at the University of Texas in Austin. We learned that because the curator of that museum reached out to us and told us about it. So we said, wow, let's do that play. So we did John Wilkes Booth's version of Richard III, done in both Reconstruction era costuming and gesture work, which is something that company really dug into over several years. We dug into Reconstruction era gesture as well as much older Restoration era gesture, post-English Civil War. Gesture was one of the new sandboxes that company gave me, and it's something that not a lot of people practice anymore. It used to be as commonplace as song instruction, as dance lessons, was gesture, gesticulation. John Wilkes Booth himself was famous for having a wide array of very passionate gestures from which he could draw for his performances. It used to be part of being an actor. With the advent of film and close-ups, it's not necessary anymore. It's not really taught. So we dug into that and played with that for several shows. A version of King Lear was done using restoration gesture. So Hidden Room gave me a lot of opportunities to expand my Shakespeare practice. It was with them where I performed at the Blackfriars Conference at the American Shakespeare Center in Stanton. And through them that I met several other Shakespeare notables, such as Tiffany Stern, and the head of research at the Globe, Farrah Cooper, who took an interest in our work. So through that, I learned a lot about what I was doing. I learned a lot about how to put these shows together. Then the pandemic hit, and everything shut down, including all live theater, as we all remember. And my wife and I tried to do 2 remote shows. We did one remote play together, and it was just a big old mess. It was fun, but it was a big old mess. No one knew what anyone was going to do. And Hidden Room went away for a while. And my wife and I were still in Austin and stuck inside, and we decided at that time that we were about ready to go. Austin, in my mind, is overrun. It's absolutely overrun. It's impossible to do anything in Austin without a 2-week advance notice. You have to plan everything in advance. Go to the grocery store, it's going to take 3 hours to get there. And we'd come to Tulsa a few times on holidays to visit some of my wife's family that lives here. And of course, I was born here and I still have family in the area. My wife heard about Tulsa Remote and applied for that program. It's a program that pays remote workers to move to Tulsa for a year. And she applied and was accepted. And within a couple of months, we said, okay, we're moving to Tulsa. And we bought a house really quickly and settled in just as the pandemic was coming to a close in the middle of 21. And again, like we do, my wife and I met doing Shakespeare, and like the first thing we did, we started looking up theaters in the area and what we could get our grubby little fingers into, and found some shows, did a few here, learned a bit about the lay of the land, but there wasn't any Shakespeare, at least no companies dedicated to it, which was an oddity to me. It was very strange. All the major surrounding metro areas have their own storied Shakespeare companies, Oklahoma City being, the immediate apparent one. Oklahoma Shakespeare in the Park is over 50 years old. It's been doing it for a long time. And Dallas, Fayetteville, Kansas City, all of these cities around us have these really great, really well-funded Shakespeare companies that have been doing it for a long time. But it was shockingly absent from Tulsa. So I decided to not wait any longer and plant my flag, give it a try. My background is not in administration. I don't have much experience directing. I don't have much experience producing. I've done enough shows and I've been doing it long enough that I know how things work pretty well. And I've been longing for the chance to run the show, to direct it a little bit. And so now I'm doing it. We were founded in the summer of 23. We ran some great events through 2024, partnered with some great organizations here in Tulsa, the Philbrook Museum being one of them, and Magic City Books being another. Had a great response, absolutely phenomenal response. Our first event, we had standing room only. Everybody was like, yes, come do this. We want this here. It was a wonderful affirmation to learn that there was an audience here. Tulsa has all of these other classical organizations. We've got our own ballet, we've got our own symphony, we've got our own opera. They're all wonderful orgs, but we didn't have this, so it feels like this is a no-brainer to me. After those events, we continued with our first shows last year. In 25, we premiered Twelfth Night in June, which was, I think, the best thing to start with for any Shakespeare company is probably Twelfth Night. It's probably his most popular show. Yeah, maybe not his most popular, but in my opinion, it's the best. I like Twelfth Night. It's an easy rom-com of a show. And it's really, really well written. And again, phenomenal response. Sold out of houses. We had a really big response to it. We followed up with Othello last year in partnership with Theater North, one of Tulsa's oldest theater companies. And again, great response. And that was a great experience. That was a lot of show. That was a lot of play. And now we're continuing this second year. We're doing The Tempest right now, along with, as you said earlier, several other companies in Oklahoma at this exact same time. And this one we're selling out. We have, by now, I believe Saturday is sold out for this coming weekend. So we've only got one show with tickets left. So again, great response, wonderful affirmation. We're getting huge response from both press and crowds, and we've applied for some grants. We founded our nonprofit and we're applying for grants, and we're getting some money to make some theater. So now we actually have to get it done. Now we have to do it. We have to follow through.
No pressure.
Yes, exactly.
So you were performing here at the Riggs Theater, is that correct?
Correct. We're at the Lynn Riggs Black Box for Tempest for one more weekend.
And how many shows were you doing?
We've got 3 more to go. Just Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week, and then that's it.
How many does that theater seat?
Not much. It'll only seat I think it'll seat a little over 100 if you squeeze them in. But for the arrangement that we've got in there now, it's only about 75 or 80.
And you're selling it out?
We're selling it out, which for Shakespeare and Tulsa, I think is just fine. I think I'm pretty pleased with it.
I think the intimacy plays into Shakespeare.
It does.
It really does. So you've been acting for 2 decades on stage?
Longer than, if you count my childhood, a lot longer than that.
Oh, we talked a little bit about in the intro some of your roles, Hal and Henry IV, Belleville in The Rover.
Yeah, F for Ben. That's a great play.
Antonio in The Duchess of Malfi.
Yeah, The Duchess of Malfi, John Webster.
Grumio, Table with Shrewer.
Great part.
One of my favorite shows. Henry VI in Richmond in Richard III.
Yeah, that was John Wilkes Booth's Richard III.
And then you took a step out and stretched yourself to play Wadsworth in Clue.
Yeah, that was my second role in Tulsa. And I just had to. The audition, like we talked about earlier, the audition for the chance to do something like that doesn't come up very often.
Absolutely.
So you got to give it a go.
Sure. So what do you look for in a role?
The challenge. I look for something that I've never done before. A great example, I just closed a show with Theater North in February of this year called Nat Turner in Jerusalem, which is a wonderful little piece by Nathan Allen Davis about the Nat Turner Rebellion in 1831, where Nat Turner led a rebellion of enslaved people and I think killed 25 people and was caught and executed for his crimes. The play is about the final night of Nat Turner's life and his conversations with his lawyer and confessor and the prison guard. And it's just, it was best described by our lighting designer, Frank Gallagher, as a 16 by 16 cockpit. It's a prison cell. And it's just these two characters kind of going at it. There's nowhere to go. There's no huge set. There's nowhere to move. It's just that spot. It was about an hour and 10 minutes, hour 20, with no breaks, no intermission, no nothing. It was just tear on through it.
Wow.
And I played both the lawyer character and the guard, the prison guard. I played two distinct characters. I've done that before in Shakespeare. I did in Richard III, but to do it in a contemporary setting, somewhat contemporary by my most recent standards, it's a huge challenge to make two completely distinct characters, and not just two distinct characters, but that's all that's on stage. It's the gentleman who was playing that, Turner, Obum McCobbum, one of the best actors in the city, hands down. Keep being able to do that with him and just keep up with him on it was an honor and a challenge. And it went wonderfully well. I loved that challenge. It was hard. And I had people coming up after the show and saying, I didn't know you were both until, you just took off that hat at the end of the play. So I did my job well. But that's really what I look for, is something, I love difficult theatrical work. I love to really dig in, really sink my teeth into something hard. I've done all the musicals. I grew up doing Rodgers and Hammerstein. I've done all of the shows. I look for I do a lot of classical work. I've got my own Shakespeare company, but in my heart of hearts, I love the experimental stuff. I love the new weird stuff.
Yeah.
That no one has ever seen before. I love really distinctive theatrical experiences. Sometimes it's hard to do with Shakespeare because it's so well known, so I don't really get that itch scratched with this, and it's nice to do really avant-garde stuff. It's more fun.
And I like what we're seeing nowadays with people taking Shakespeare and challenging the adaptation, seeing what they can do with it.
And doing whatever they can with it.
And it can be great.
It can be great. And that's that's, in my opinion, the best thing about it is you can make it whatever you want. He's dead. He doesn't care. He doesn't care what we're doing with it. He's been dead for a long time, and it doesn't really matter. You can make a Shakespeare one act. You can do the best of. You can make anything you want of it. You can do the full 5-hour, Hamlet if you want to, or you can do a 90-minute version and actually get people to come see it. It's whatever you want it to be. You can change it to your heart's content. The Tempest that we're doing downstairs right now is in drag. And, that's something of a statement because at that time, as you know, they were only men on stage in Shakespeare's time. So it's really doing it in that same kind of style. So you can make it say whatever you want it to say. The themes are so universal and so overarching that you can focus wherever you want on whatever theme you like.
And one thing that when I was working with the group on Shakespeare, I'm not a Shakespearean actor, never have been. But one thing I was telling the people that I was working with is that if you look at his plays, Shakespeare never introduces a character. He doesn't give you a character synopsis of this is where he's from, who he is. So it's up to the actor to interpret who this is.
Exactly.
And that opens such a great canvas to work with. And I think it's great. Now, did I understand this correctly? You've also performed internationally?
Yes. I was very fortunate for a time in Austin to perform with a company called the Intergalactic Nemesis, which was built as a live-action graphic novel, a format that was really concocted by this producer. His name is Jason Newlander. He took his radio play called The Intergalactic Nemesis, and he put it on stage in front of a 30-foot-tall projection screen. And you've got what you would have for a radio play. You've got voice actors. You've got a Foley artist with sound effects spread out on a table. And you've got a pianist who is scoring the show as it goes along. And he added to that a full graphic novel projected on a screen behind the people on stage. So the graphic novel follows the narrative, and you can choose to look at the voice actors who are also enacting some of the characters, at least partially while standing. The Foley artist, you can watch their work, or you can watch the piano player as they come up with a new score every night. It was a fascinating theatrical experience. There was nothing else like it in the world that I know of. Jason is actually still using that format. He's got a new play out right now based on Treasure Island that he's trying to get touring. And I joined up with that show in 2013, I believe, and toured with them for about 4 years. And that was the return to the life that I wanted, the life that I got a taste of with that Cirque du Soleil show. That was life as a touring pro. And that's, I think, the closest I will ever get. I think that I don't think I can replicate that. I was going all over the world, from Australia to Scotland, touring with that show and seeing. It started out touring most of America and the Midwest. The Midwest loved us for some reason. I've seen more of the Midwest than anyone who doesn't have family there. But it also expanded outward. I've been to Alaska twice, and we went to Hawaii. We toured to Melbourne in Australia for a couple of weeks. And then we finished off not our final year, but close to it, with a stint at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Scotland. That was August 2016, and spent the entire month there, and performed like crazy. I didn't understand how hard those Fringe Festival goers work. I don't know if you've been to many Fringe festivals, but holy heavens. I mean, Edinburgh is the mother of all Fringe. It's where it all started, and every nook and cranny of Edinburgh becomes a performance space during the month of August. It's how it is. And the entire city knows about it and prepares for it. But the performers themselves, if you've never been there, it's shocking. It is shocking. There are literally on every single street corner, someone is doing some kind of performance in some kind of weird way. And if there isn't a performer on that street corner, there is someone forcing a flyer into your hand about the performance. It's going to go on. It's just 20 minutes now. You need to just stand right there and wait. It is pandemonium of art making. It's wonderful. It was glorious. And our little show did pretty well there, but it was more just, we were trying to get it sold in Europe, and it wasn't quite the right feel for it. It's not quite a Fringe Festival show. But it was a great experience, and I got to voice dozens of different characters on stage all at once. Just switch between characters really quickly. And that's where I really honed my character work as a voice actor, and got to be really comfortable with it, and learn how to work a mic. I don't think I'll ever top that gig. I have never felt more comfortable in a job. It was just the best. I did get tired of it after 4 years. Touring for 4 years and never being home is hard. It's really difficult, but every performer should try it. Go for a couple of years if you're able, even if you're just going to be broke doing it. Just go try it. Go live that life for a while, because it's amazing. Everyone should give it a go.
Well, if you're interested, there is a Fringe Festival in Oklahoma City. So
okay,
first weekend, or the first 2 weekends in October.
Okay,
Theater Crude Fringe Festival.
Okay, we just finished. Well, actually, we're about to have our second Tulsa Fringe Festival in this building.
Yes,
below.
I remember that being announced last year. Sure, it's very cool. So yeah, it's starting to come here.
It's starting to come here.
Oh, so tell me about the filmmaking aspect. Where did that come from?
It came along when I was in Austin. The filmmaking and theater communities crossed over a little bit, and I made. Let's see. I did a version of Hamlet with a company in Austin called Black Swan Productions. It was directed by a guy named Andrew Matthews, and Andrew and his wife wrote a movie called Zero Charisma about D&D, about Dungeons and Dragons. Some D&Ders would probably recognize it. It's become something of a cult classic among D&Ders, I've heard. I'm not a D&D guy, so I don't really know. But I had a good role in that, and I got some good screen time, and I got a SAG eligible note, little asterisk, and got seen by some folks. One of those folks was runner. No, anyway, that movie kind of put me into some film circles. And from then on, I just started doing more. I got an agent and started doing more film around Austin, and did bit parts here and there. And then I started making my own stuff. I'm a gearhead and I'm a car nut. I have been all my life. It's my other passion. That's why I went to engineering school. It's because I love anything engineering related. And I started making videos about cars in about 2014 or 2015. Just a little web series, little vignettes of a person's connection with a particular car. And got some experience with that, and started doing just short doc style stuff. And then I decided I wanted to, during the pandemic, I went to school. I got an actual degree. I got a degree in film and media from the University of Massachusetts and started making more films when I was in school there. One of the films that I made was called Roads to Nowhere. It's about the destruction of Greenwood in Tulsa and about how the Greenwood riot, or rather the Greenwood Massacre in 1921, was not the end of Greenwood. It was rebuilt to a much higher degree after that. And what really killed the community was urban renewal, was highways being built around the city of Tulsa. And I made that little film, and I won an award for it. That really kind of shocked me. It was just a little student film, but it gave me some impetus to keep doing that. I haven't made any films in the past couple of years because I've been building Tulsa Shakespeare Company, and I cannot do both. There's just no way.
What? Come on.
I know. I do have another film in the works right now that is called Magic City Run. At least that's the working title. About a gentleman who is running on foot every road in the city of Tulsa. And I have a lot of interest in Tulsa's infrastructure, and that's why I wanted to make films about it. Tulsa has the highest number of roads per capita in the country, second only to Nashville. We have nearly 8 miles of roads per capita in the city. Roads are a big part of living in Tulsa. And they're a big story of Tulsa as well, is Tulsa's roads. And this gentleman is on a mission to run end-to-end every single road in the city limits.
Wow.
And he's learned a lot about the city and a lot about the people in it in the interim, and I thought that would be a pretty good idea. So I'm working on that. When I'm not working on TSC, trying to build that out as well, and do some writing on it. But yeah, with film, I'm still performing when I can here. The filmmaking, I'm dying to get back in. I miss it a lot. But it's all TSC all the time now. That's all I've got time to do. So I need to lean into this hard because I think the iron is hot for Tulsa Shakespeare, and it's working. We're successful. So I'm really leaning hard into that right now.
Well, speaking of that, let's as much as we keep talking about you and your career, let's talk about this building and birth of Tulsa Shakespeare. You created this with a mission to have exceptional staged works of early modern and classic theater to enrich the culture of Tulsa. Some of the vision pillars that you have are accessibility, education, and performance.
I can talk about all those three. Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
The two big ones mentioned up front are accessibility and education. Accessibility is a problem for most theatergoers in this city because small companies, even though they're small companies, still have to charge a reasonable amount of money for a ticket. We have to make some money back, even if we're a tiny little scrappy theater company. Otherwise, it just gets very difficult. We can't live on grants alone. We can if we have to, but we need to make just a skosh of money in order to make this work. So that even a $15 ticket can be a big barrier. And for someone that's interested in classical theater, we do not want that to be the case. And one thing that we brought from Austin with us, Austin had a tradition that Thursday evenings for most theater companies was pay what you can night, where whatever you've got, if you've got $1 in your pocket, come see the show. Cost is not a barrier. And even if you've got nothing, let us know. We can probably still get you in. So we're bringing that here. We're doing that again this Thursday. We did it on our opening Thursday. We sold out with it. It was great. We're doing it again this Thursday night. We've still got some seats left. We're hoping that'll sell out as well. And that's a big part of what we want to do is bring Shakespeare to everyone. Accessibility is really, really important to us. It's not just for rich people. That's not what Shakespeare was designed for. Shakespeare was designed for the common man. A lot of people think it's very haughty and very highbrow. It is not in any way. And we are showing that right now with The Tempest. We had a 5-year-old come in last week and just had a blast. They loved it. We want to bring Shakespeare to everyone. The second one, and this is one that I'm really, really focusing on right now, which is education. We were speaking a little bit about this earlier. Oklahoma's education landscape is pretty dire right now. It's not good. Just a few years ago, the University of Tulsa shut down their theater program completely. Just shut it down. They have a brand new performing space that they are never going to use because there is no longer a theater program there. And that's wild. That's wild to me. So we want to help out in any way we can by bringing the arts to the community through education, whether that be through adult workshops, acting workshops, through workshops on decoding the text, how to read Shakespeare and how to pick up the text, or going into schools and teaching to young children, which we've already done. I've done 3 in-school workshops right now, and we are building out that process to put Tulsa Shakespeare Company actors into schools all over the area. And we got, again, had a great response. The teachers want it. They want it badly. They want help. So anything that we can do to bring some new thoughts about this old text to students, we're going to do. And I'm amazed. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I didn't touch Shakespeare till really high school. I may have touched it in middle school, but if I did, it was only very glancingly. 2 of the workshops that I've done were for 10-year-olds, 4th graders,
Wow.
3rd and 4th graders. They're getting younger and younger. And I'm working with a guy right now who is quite confident that we can teach Shakespeare to 5-year-olds. He's done it before. I don't know how that works, but I'm excited to see, and I'm excited to further that part of our mission. That's going to be a big part of what we do, is getting them young, teaching kids that Shakespeare is not, it's not just something that you scoff at in English lit class when you're, 15. It's universal. The stories in it are absolutely wonderful. They just don't know them because it's not taught very much, It's not put into schools as much as it could be. And it does so much for kids. It teaches reading comprehension, teaches literacy, teaches public speaking, teaches confidence. There is so much to be had from practicing this old text that kids can benefit from. So those are the 2 big ones. All of that is to say, we're hoping those 2 things, the accessibility and the education part of it, leads to the performance, and then we can fund some shows. If we're lucky, we get to do some shows and we get to keep doing them. We started light. I ramped us up we're only doing 2 shows a year right now to really make sure that we keep the quality level where we want it to be, that we're not frazzled and running all over doing 8 shows a year. We don't need to be doing that. We're playing the long game. We're hoping to make an institution out of this. Tulsa has a rich Shakespeare tradition. There are several companies over the past decades that have been here that were performing Shakespeare and performing classical works. The Tulsa Alliance for Classical Theater comes to mind. They disbanded, I think, in the early 90s. So there is at Woodward Park in central Tulsa, there is a monument to Shakespeare that was put up in the 20s by a very learned group of women here that are a Shakespeare Reading Club. It is here. The desire is here. So the desire and the history, it just makes sense to me. Yeah, it was strange to me that I'm the only one doing this. That I'm the only one that thinks this is a good idea.
Okay, so early on, you had something called Spicy Shakespeare.
Spicy Shakespeare, yes.
Sold out in 48 hours. You said it was standing room only.
Correct.
Your first workshop at the Lynn Riggs Theater brought in experts and novices alike.
Correct.
War of the Words at the Philbrook.
Yeah.
Brought in 400 plus audience members.
We're just there to see us.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, we started the Spicy Shakespeare was the big stamp on what we were doing. That was the first event. That was in Magic City Books in downtown Tulsa. Thanks to Jeff Martin for letting us use his space for that, which he donated to us. And it's a little space in the back of the bookstore that's mainly used for reading clubs. It's not very big. It's a room, but we packed them in, and then we continued packing them in, and then we had to have people just lining the bookstore, trying to get a glimpse. And it was just reading. We had, I think, 8 or 10 people up at the back of the room with music stands and blacks, and we were just doing readings it was Valentine's Day themed. That's what it was. It was Valentine's Day that time, and we did some bits from various shows. We did some Romeo and Juliet, and we did some Midsummer Night's Dream, kind of the greatest hits, just to really kind of test the waters, see what we could do, and see whether people were interested. And as you said, they were lined up out the door. They were. It was amazing. We were unprepared for the response that event got. It was just a one-night thing, and everyone showed up for it. And that led us into the partnership with Philbrook, which we were very fortunate to get. And we set up and did another kind of compilation that we called War of Words. It was the opening of Philbrook's weekly movie night. It was Wednesday night, I think. And they were doing 10 Things I Hate About You, which, if you don't know, is the adaptation of Taming the Shrew, the modern day adaptation. And they set up a little stage for us, and we did. It was a bit more in depth. It wasn't just standing and reading. We actually did some scenes. And that was really my first time directing some folks in it and getting some people up on stage, actually doing some blocking and some movement. And again, great response. Huge from the crowd, far more than we expected. Just doing Shakespeare, doing 4 or 5 scenes outside in the middle of the Philbrook Gardens, which is absolutely gorgeous. That's really the best place to do outdoor Shakespeare, I think, in the city is at the Philbrook. We're working with them to hopefully further that relationship in the near future. And yeah, the success of those led to the shows that we did last year, 12th Night and Othello.
So you're still doing just 2 shows a year?
Right now. We're hoping to add a summer show, maybe next year, but probably more like 28.
Okay, so Tempest is what you've got going on right now. Do you have anything scheduled for the fall?
Hamlet.
Doing Hamlet.
We're doing Hamlet the final 2 weekends of October. We will be auditioning in August if anyone wants to come read. Follow us on the socials for more info on that.
So let's see here. A couple of these questions you've already answered. How challenging do you find it to maintain the balance between artistic vision and practical logistics?
That's the great thing about doing Shakespeare, is it can be as logistically light as you want it to be. It was designed to be very, very logistically light. It was designed only really around costumes. There aren't many props in the shows. There's the occasional tankard and, of course, the sword fights. But these shows are designed to be made in the open air with very little. So that really lends itself to doing simple shows. They don't need a lot of ornamentation. I find when you do Shakespeare with a lot of ornamentation, it takes away from the themes. You don't need to hang things on it. You can set it in whatever time period you like, but there needs to be some kind of thematic reasoning behind it. The setting needs to add to the thematic discussion. If it doesn't, if you're just setting it in a random time arbitrarily, I find that really doesn't work. I've seen various performances. Every producer has done that. I have done that. I set Othello in the Civil War, which has been done dozens of times. I'm sure it's not an original idea, but it still furthers the discussion. It's still thematically interesting, I thought. Thus far, my artistic vision for these shows has been very, very stripped down. That's what I'm going to do with Hamlet. It will be it will be leaning heavy into the ghost story. It will be very dark. It will be very dank. I'm thinking of using mostly practical lighting for that, handheld lanterns, some fake torches, and making that a very, the space that we're going to have it in, I'm not going to say what it is because it's not confirmed yet, but it will be very intimate. It will be very close. And I want that kind of discomfort that's easy to do with not very much, if that makes sense. So my visions for this, I'm a big fan of just get out in the street and do it. Like I keep telling my board, let's do some guerrilla theater. Let's just show up in one of the vacant lots and north of downtown Tulsa and set up some torches and just do it right there. No crowd, no nothing. Just do it. And they're like, you're crazy. Right? Just shut your mouth. You're never going to do that. We're never ever doing that. But I'm a big fan of guerrilla theater like that, where you just show up and do it. You don't need anything extra. If the performances are good and if the text is, if you know what you're saying, you don't need anything extra to do it. You don't need ornamentation. You don't need huge lights and huge sound. In fact, it's a big hindrance. So,
okay. So looking to the future for Tulsa Shakespeare, you said you have a dream of a full repertory model.
Oh God,
tell me about that.
That's the dream. I would love to build a full company here. We have built a small company of actors from these few shows that we've done. We're going to keep adding to and keep training over time. But from then, I believe it is possible to build a theater company where you can pay people a living wage. A big part of what we do I know. Look at your...
What?
You can't hear this. You can't hear the face that Tim just made, folks. It's insane to think that actors might be paid a wage at some point. That is another thing that we wish to change. We watched it change in Austin, my wife and I, when we were performing there. The paradigm shifted in our time there toward paying actors. It's just kind of a given, if you're an actor that is not under contract or on film, you're not getting paid. It's just how it is. And we think that that's ridiculous and that is a wanton affront. Why? Even non-pro musicians, they might get $100 for a gig. They might get tips. They get something. But in this business, if you're doing anything even remotely resembling community level work, you get absolutely nothing, just nothing. And that's not sustainable. Like, that can't keep going on.
Right.
With the way the world is going right now and art's being pushed out left and right, and theater under attack from many different directions. Like, who was it a few days ago? It was Timothy Chalamet a few months ago made that asinine comment about ballet. Theater is being scoffed at.
Yeah.
And it's not seen as valuable to a community. And I think that that's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Theater is the cure for the disaffectedness that we all feel, the disconnectedness that we all feel. My wife proudly says in the curtain speech of Tempest that there was no AI used in the making of this show. And it's impossible. It's absolutely 100% authentic culture. You cannot fake it. It's right there in front of you.
Absolutely.
It's not something that can be altered in any way. Every show is a one-of-a-kind experience. You will never have that same experience again, even if you see the same show again. It's a one-of-a-kind. So that, I think, is a big part of why we're doing what we're doing, to drag people back and let them have a good time in a room with some other strangers and show them how important that can be, how it makes them feel. The friendliness and the loneliness epidemic that's going around right now since the end of the pandemic, where people are just staying inside. We're trying to bring them back out again.
Cool.
And if we can, we're going to pay our actors a little bit while we do it. We ask for tips. That's another thing that we do that no other company does that I really know of. Maybe they do, I'm not sure. But we say, if you want to tip your actors, give them a couple of bucks. We pay them. It's not very much. And they would love anything extra. So please tip the actors. And we think that that's a good way to help out. But the goal eventually is to have these both, repertory and education programs that support these actors. I've seen those education programs in action, and I know that they can do it. I know that they can support a few actors in a company. I would love to be able to form these little educational workshops and then tour them to local schools, get them out into the area. And I know that we can get grant funding as well as school funding for that. So that's one way to build out the company. The other is to actually build an actual repertory acting company to get us to the point where our performance and our production quality is good enough that people will pay top dollar to come see the shows. And we have an in-house company, just like an opera company, just like a ballet company, to build that level of institutional fundraising as well. That's key. The way that we can do that is through education and through continuing what we're doing with these performances. Each performance, we've taken a step up thus far. And if we keep that trajectory up, the sky's the limit. We can get there. We can do it. It's just going to take a lot of time.
Very cool. So what do you see when you envision Tulsa Shakespeare in 10 years?
I see a tiny performing space that is for us to use, that is particular to Tulsa Shakespeare Company, that we can use for performance and for rehearsal, hopefully. In 10 years, I see a big educational impact. I see our education programs being a commonplace item for parents to look at and put their kids at in the summers, in summer camps, not just in school workshops, but we're building out some summer camps as well. I see us becoming a part of the Tulsa cultural landscape. Like I said, this is the long game. We're not going anywhere. This is not a flight of fancy. If I can't run it any longer, I know I can find people that would, because Tulsa needs this. And the response that we've gotten from everyone from city councilors to notables in the area, the rest of the arts community at large is, yes, you're absolutely welcome. We need you here. So as long as we can continue building that goodwill, then the next 5 to 10 years, in 10 years, I hope that we have that full space and we have that full donor base that we can build off of, that we can plan around. That's what I'd really like to be able to do, is to plan a realistic, long-term budget and cash flow. Something we can say, well, I would love to know what money we're going to have in the next couple of years.
Sure, wouldn't we all?
Yes.
Okay, so as we come to the end of our time here together, I have this thing that I do on every episode that we do. We end everything on a light, fun note. We call our casting call curveballs.
Okay.
So these are just off-the-wall random questions, just the first thing that pops into your head.
All right.
And they may or may not be about theater.
Okay.
First question. If you could drop one Shakespeare character into modern-day Tulsa, who would cause the most chaos?
Falstaff. Hands down. There's no question.
So there you go. What's one Shakespeare monologue that you could still perform even if someone woke you up at 3 a.m. in the morning?
You're going to love this. One of the most challenging Shakespeare role that I've ever played was a woman. It was Queen Margaret of Anjou in Henry VI. Henry VI is 3 plays. It's huge. It's a huge saga. And Margaret is the one through line through all 3 parts. And there is one monologue of Margaret's that I still remember I use as my warm-up. I use it all the time. And I'm sure I could recite it in my sleep. Absolutely, 100%.
If you could instantly become an expert in any completely unrelated field, from astrophysics to sourdough, what are you choosing and why?
It's funny that you mentioned sourdough because I baked sourdough for a while last year. The one thing that I would choose would be aviation. I come from an aviation family. My grandfather did it. My father did it. My mother was a ticket agent with American Airlines for 35 years. It's in my blood. And if I were to know everything about one thing, it would be aviation.
Okay. You get a 1-day pass to live inside any movie universe, not a play. Where do you spend the day?
There is, holy Lord, I'm going to admit this on a recording. I love the Wachowskis. I love the Wachowskis' work. I'm a big fan of their filmmaking. They have a terrible, terrible movie that came out in 2014 called Jupiter Ascending, with Mila Kunis and Channing Tatum, I think is his name. And it's a terrible movie. It was panned. And rightfully so. It's not overall a good movie, but it looked wonderful. And the world building that they did in it was kind of an homage to Terry Gilliam, but on a grand scale. Terry Gilliam is actually in the film. And if I were to choose to be placed in any world, it would be the world that they created for Jupiter Ascending. It was pretty amazing.
That would be cool.
Huh. That's a good question.
What's a small, everyday object that you irrationally love and would absolutely defend in a court of law?
This. I'm holding up a cigarette lighter it's just a standard Bic lighter, but around it is a sterling silver case with abalone shell inlay. I've had this for well over 20 years now. I don't smoke cigarettes. But I carry this with me wherever I go. It is my totem. I lost it recently for a period of a few days, and my wife she was beside herself trying to console me because I was so I couldn't be without it. Yes, I will never leave this.
And where did you get this?
This was given to me by a friend in Austin a long time ago, just at random, because it matches another piece that I've got. But it feels so good in the hand. It's just something that I always have. I always have it.
Okay. If you could instantly master one non-theater skill, what would you pick?
Oh, that's a great question. I would remaster singing. I was an all-state baritone when I was in high school, and I had to choose between music or theater when I was growing up, and I chose theater. I couldn't do both. I didn't have the time.
I've heard of musical theater.
I did all the musical theater at that time, but I could when I started doing theater more often in Austin and started getting paid for it, then I couldn't really go to a choir rehearsal. I had to go to show rehearsal instead. So I kind of gave up that part of it. If I could, I would be a really good singer again.
What's a weird hobby or interest that you have that people wouldn't guess?
That people wouldn't guess? I don't know. I'm a bit too far into that. I can't really make an objective opinion. Trail running. I'm an ultra runner.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't suppose you might guess that. I mean, if you looked at, I'm pretty short and skinny, so I guess you might guess that. I like Legos. I like really complex Lego sets. How about that?
Absolutely. If your life had a soundtrack, what genre would dominate it?
What genre would dominate it? Modern big band. Yeah, I think so.
Postmodern jukebox.
It's something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like oh God, there's a couple of artists that come immediately to mind that folks probably don't know, but Remy LeBouf. Yeah, a couple of folks who do there's actual modern big band music. If you haven't heard it, check it out. It is great.
Yeah, I'm a big jazz fan, so I'm right
Yeah.
with you. You can only keep one during Tech Week: coffee or sleep.
Sleep. I can do without coffee. I can make it. But sleep on a tech week is gold. It's absolute gold.
Right.
I can do without coffee. Give me sleep any day of the week.
If you could send one message to your 12-year-old self, what would it say?
Oh God, be patient. I would say be patient, and I would say go for what you want. If you want to be an actor, go be an actor. If I had really focused when I was a kid on acting and really really worked hard at it and not always told myself that I couldn't do it, I would be so much more happy right now. I'd have so much more done.
Understood. So, Brock, thank you for giving your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for asking such great questions. And thank you for your work in bringing Oklahoma stage work to the forefront.
Absolutely.
I think it's, we talked about it, I think it's a completely unknown market. There's so many great actors and producers and theater makers in this state. So thank you for doing what you do.
Absolutely. So if people want to follow Tulsa Shakespeare, how do they do that?
You can find Tulsa Shakespeare Company on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. Just search Tulsa Shakespeare Company. You can sign up for our mailing list as well. Just reach out to us at tulsashakespearecompany@gmail.com, and we'll give you all the info.
How can people support Tulsa Shakespeare?
You can support by donation. You can go to tulsashakespeare.com, and there is a donation link directly there. You can also, there should be a donation link as well on our Facebook page. Please go support us there.
Okay. Any parting words of wisdom before we leave here today?
Keep doing theater and keep going to see theater. Support your local artists and go get some local culture.
That's 100% perfect. So, Brock, again, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
For everybody else listening at home, we thank you for giving your time as well, whether it's sitting around the fireplace at home, driving to work, or maybe in your office. We thank you for letting us into your world. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, our website, oklahomaonstage.org. You could also email us any comments or questions, oklahomaonstage@gmail.com. We thank you all for being avid listeners and for all of your support. But 100% more than anything else, just as Brock just said, continue to support the arts.